Today, Bungie announced that they fixed an issue where Eager Edge could be used multiple times in a single activation. As a speedrunner and lover for Destiny 2, I want to give my thoughts and go over the implications that this has on the game as a whole. First off, I want to explain what this means for the game. Essentially, what's happening here is that players will no longer be able to do what is called a double Eager in Destiny 2. What this meant is that when you proc the Eager Edge perk by pulling out your sword, you were able to do 2 sword swipes at an increased speed that Eager gave. Now what happens when you try to do this is that after your first usage of the perk, it will immediately disappear and not allow you to do a second sword swing input. The main uses for a double Eager were in general movement for many players in the game. This did not only pertain to speedrunners and high-skilled players, as many casual players were also able to do this technique. I want to first start by talking about why a lot of people think that Bungie made this change. There are 2 main reasons why people speculate this change was enacted after such a long time where double Eagering was possible. The first major reason is that people found double Eagering in PvP was very overpowered. Essentially, when in a PvP match, if you had heavy ammo, you could double Eager from very far away from an opponent and connect with them and kill them. This meant that it would outrange shotguns quickly and would allow for people to easily outmatch other individuals while also being extremely overpowered. By changing it so that you can only Eager Edge once, this means you have to first close the distance before using Eager Edge, rather than being able to be various feet away from a player where they could not kill you with a shotgun and giving them no chance. I just wanted to add a little editor's note here. One of my friends found out that you can still double Eager people in PvP, as you'll be seeing in this clip. It's quite funny. If you hit the first person, you can then Eager into the second person and kill them, allowing you to do 2 Eager swipes. This is the only situation in which you can do this. The second main reason why most people think that this change has occurred is that there is a new subclass coming to Destiny 2 with the release of Lightfall. In this subclass, there is a grapple hook ability that is able to be used by the player. Many people think that because Eager Edge was so powerful, double Eagering would make it so that the grapple hook was an afterthought for players when they were looking at the new subclass. We think that Bungie might have wanted to balance Eager slightly more so that the grapple hook was comparable to Eager Edge, and they thought that double Eager was slightly more overpowered than this grapple hook would be, causing it to be underused. Next, I want to talk about why this is an unnecessary change on Bungie's part. The main reason that I and many others feel this change was unnecessary is that double Eagering did not negatively impact most players in any way, shape, or form. The very niche downside that occurred in PvP was not very often seen and could have been fixed in various other ways, such as splitting the sandbox between PvE and PvP. I know that's a big topic of contention in the community, but a lot of the issues that come up within Destiny over weapon balancing revolve around the idea that the sandboxes are interconnected, and this is just another topic that should be for another video or for another time, but it would be another effective solution for this issue. If we focus in on the PvE experience, double Eagering did not have any downsides for the community. The only thing that double Eagering allowed was for certain people to go faster while using the Eager Edge sword. This meant that players who put the time in to learn the movement tech and also used an Eager Edge sword while playing the game were able to progress slightly faster through different encounters of raids or through story missions or other activities. While a lot of players do find it enjoyable to explore the terrain and enjoy the content that Bungie creates in certain story missions, weekly missions, and seasonal activities, a lot of other players do them many times over and over and would like to progress through faster if capable. What double Eager allowed was for a movement ability that let players go faster between activities when they wanted to. Not every player was forced to use it, but players could use it to progress faster and get through an area quicker than they would have been able to without the ability. I know a main counterpoint to this issue is that only double Eager was nerfed and Eager Edge still remains in the game, and to that I say that is exactly my point. Clearly Bungie does not want to take out the ability for players to move faster through the use of Eager Edge, but they take out this very niche ability from the game. This ability was not harming anyone in a negative way, so why even take it out in the first place, even if it isn't intended? To expand on this, double Eagering was a very situational piece of movement tech. It allowed players to get around corners much faster and accelerate from them while doing one eager to get to the corner and then one to pass through it. And it also allowed players to accelerate quicker in general on long straightaways, such as the flower field in Garden of Salvation. My main point here is that we don't understand why Bungie needed to take double eager out of the game when it has been in for various seasons without giving any communication on the matter. This idea about a lack of communication leads me directly into my next point of contention regarding this topic. Before removing double eager from the game, Bungie gave no form of communication or heads up through a TWAB or any other form of communication on Twitter, etc. This is extremely bad and sets a terrible precedent for the community because it means that Bungie can simply remove things without mentioning it in the first place and giving the community a heads up. It's extremely important that when Bungie changes core game mechanics, they give the community a heads up so they know what will be changing, so they will have time to prepare for it. This is certainly impactful in the speedrunning community, where lots of us use this technology to allow us to go faster, and taking it out will give an unfair advantage to old records that were set in the game because they had this ability to use double eager, but forward generations of runners will not. This is the same if Bungie were to ever nerf shatter lining or well lining. While they have talked about it in the past, they haven't acted on it and fixed the issue. But if they did, it would drastically impact how every category of the game was speedran, from raids to strikes to dungeons, etc. If they just took it out, just like they did with double eager, it would cause a massive form of unrest within the community, and it would make it so that some runs could never be done as fast with that technology. Bungie could have easily placed double eager on the known issue list that they have, where they keep track of various issues they are working to fix, where even shatterlining and well lining have been placed on before. This would have been extremely effective in pointing out to people that used it that it was only temporary and was not the intended way the sword was to be used. However, this would also have allowed for a proper dialogue between Bungie and the player base before they made this change. I know that there would have been a lot of outspoken members of the community that would have argued that this was not negatively impacting anyone and that it should not be changed, and this dialogue may have changed the course of action of Bungie had they actually listened to the player base. Now I want to move on for a message for all of the people that are arguing it wasn't the intended way Bungie wanted Eager Edge to work, so why are you complaining that it has been nerfed? The issue with your argument here is that a lot of things game developers release do not function the way they were intended. However, a lot of the time they are not changed after they are released because the community might even enjoy those unintentional bugs, such as the Riven cheese, because many people find the Riven encounter of Last Wish to be too difficult. These unintended consequences are actually a good natural thing for the game's life cycle and are a general positive for the game. I see double eager as exactly this. It might have been an unnatural usage of an eager edge sword. However, many people used it positively, and it did not negatively impact their playing experience enough to warrant Bungie to remove it, especially without prior communication. Just because something is intended to work some way also does not mean that that is the right way. The community should be able to criticize something and argue that it is in fact very useful in the way it is being used and that the intended way is incorrect. This happens all the time naturally through dialogue between people on Twitter, through forums, etc. with Bungie about how they feel the game should be changed. We don't always listen to exactly what they want to put in the game, and they have to listen to us to see how we feel about it. While this may just come off as an elitist speedrunner talking to you guys that they don't want something changed that negatively impacts them, ultimately think about it. If there was something that you enjoyed in the game and it was changed because it was an unintended feature, but you found that it did not negatively impact anyone, wouldn't you want it to be reverted back so that you could use it the way you originally had? Overall, wouldn't it be a net positive for that thing to be changed so it could benefit you and not negatively impact anyone else? That's the argument that I'm trying to present here. The best example I can give of this is sunsetting. Originally, Bungie wanted to sunset various weapons and armor sets, but they eventually went back on this because of the dialogue from the community. Obviously, Bungie intended for things to be sunset as they explicitly stated it, but by getting community feedback, it was clear to them that this was not the right way to go, and they have since reverted that change. All I'm asking is that they do this with double eager, and they revert this change. I don't see why it is such a negative thing for this change to be reverted, And if any of you really have any gripes with it, I would love to hear the comments in the comment section below. The one thing I truly don't understand in this situation is that not many people were asking for this change, if any at all. However, there are people calling for changes in other aspects of the game related to weapon balancing and just generally fixing the bugginess of the game in general. One of these instances is duality. Duality is just broken in a lot of instances and needs the attention, whereas Eager Edge didn't. Also, guns like Divinity and armor like Heart of Inmost Light are completely overpowered right now, and I could do a whole video on them explaining what's wrong with them, but Bungie isn't giving them any attention. Rather, they're balancing the game around 100 resilience and just letting it be. I personally think that they would have been much better spent had they put this time into properly balancing the game, but clearly they had other priorities. Other than that though, I would really love for Bungie to give further communication and prior communication on issues like this so that we know they're incoming, and I really hope that they revert this change just like they did with sunsetting. That's it for me though. Have a good day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.